Prepare to hear words that can radically change your perception of the surrounding reality and, more importantly, yourself. If you have ever felt that sincere displays of kindness go unnoticed, are used for selfish purposes, or are simply ignored, then this message is for you. From an early age, we are instilled with the idea that it is enough to be a good person, and the universe will surely reward us for our pure intentions. However, reality is often far from these ideas. Remember how often, despite making maximum efforts, you failed to receive even elementary gratitude. How often, when showing respect to others, you encountered complete indifference in return. Instead of seeing nobility as a virtue, many tend to perceive it as a sign of weakness. As painful as it may be, it is necessary to recognize that kindness alone is not enough. The world is structured in such a way that it rewards not just good qualities, but the presence of strength. This is not about becoming hardened, insensitive, or heartless, but about understanding that kindness, devoid of strength, is like a river without a channel or a seed thrown into rocky soil. It is not capable of bearing fruit. Imagine kindness as a precious stone, bright and valuable, that is given to the world. Unfortunately, many treat it carelessly, damage it, or simply forget about its existence. Some perceive it as something that is taken for granted, and only a few are able to truly appreciate its true value. Over time, if you do not take care to protect it, this precious stone will inevitably wear out, lose its luster, and become almost unrecognizable. This is exactly what happens to kindness when it is given out without measure and without any protection. If you feel that your energy, love, and time are constantly being taken away, giving nothing in return, then the reason lies not in weakness or imperfection, but in missing an important point. Kindness that knows no bounds loses its value if it is not supported by inner strength. Many mistakenly equate strength with aggression, setting boundaries with selfishness and self-defense with distrust. However, the truth is that strength and kindness are not mutually exclusive concepts, but on the contrary, complement each other. Without strength, kindness becomes vulnerable, and strength without kindness turns into violence. The real balance lies in the ability to show one quality or the other at the right time. Remember those distressing moments when your tongue seemed to stick to your throat, preventing you from expressing what was bursting out, when you submissively retreated even though a fire of resistance was burning in your soul, when you generously gave yourself away until you felt a chilling emptiness inside. Perhaps you were guided by the naive belief that it is enough to be good to earn the favor of fate, that love, like an echo, will surely return to you 100-fold. But life is not a soulless mirror reflecting your expectations. It is a harsh arena where good intentions alone are not enough to win. Setting personal boundaries is not a manifestation of selfishness, but an act of mercy towards oneself, dictated by the instinct of self-preservation. Every time you say that fateful yes, when you feel a refusal in your gut, you do not elevate yourself to a pedestal of virtue, but only distance yourself from your true essence. Endless forgiveness without sincere remorse, silent acceptance of suffering, futile hopes for the transformation of others who are alien to change, all this relentlessly drains your life force. Crossing your own boundaries is like losing a part of yourself, dissolving to please the interests of others. And even if you are convinced that you are acting with the best intentions, you involuntarily send a false message to the world. Your value is determined not by who you are, but by how much you are willing to give. But the truth is that clearly defining boundaries is not a manifestation of egocentrism, but a vital need for survival. This is not cruelty, but respect for one's own personality. This is not a sign of distrust, but a manifestation of worldly wisdom. For kindness that knows no measure is not a true virtue, but a painful self-sacrifice, allowing others to unscrupulously use you as an inexhaustible resource, like a silent bridge that they cross without looking back. Continuing to indulge such an attitude, you risk ultimately finding yourself completely alone, exhausted and disappointed, questioning the heavens why no one is rushing to help in the hour when it is so necessary. The next time you are tempted to unconditionally agree while your heart screams no, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself the key question: what drives me, love or fear? Am I taking care to preserve my life energy, or am I mindlessly squandering it left and right? True kindness does not lie in boundless self-sacrifice, but in the ability to stop in time, say a firm no, and make a choice in favor of yourself. And if someone is unable to understand that, it's no longer your concern. Your primary task isn't striving to please everyone, but protecting your inner light. Remember, your purpose in this world isn't to exhaust yourself for others. You weren't born to be an inexhaustible source of energy. Your value is determined not by the amount you give, but by who you truly are. And if someone doesn't see that, they simply don't belong in your life. The most valuable gift you can offer the world is your own version, full of strength and light. And you can only achieve this by learning to set boundaries. You've been running from loneliness for so long that you haven't been able to face it head on. You perceived it as an enemy, as a sign of failure, as something to be avoided at all costs. But what happens when you're surrounded by people yet feel completely alone? What happens when you share your life with someone who doesn't understand you, who doesn't see your inner light, who doesn't know how to support you as you support them? The most terrifying loneliness isn't physical isolation, but the feeling of invisibility in the presence of others. For a moment, step away from your usual perception of loneliness and imagine it not as a bothersome adversary, but as a wise mentor. Imagine ceasing the frantic search for the company of anyone you meet, preferring to remain alone with yourself. Imagine using the healing silence for deep self-knowledge and inner healing. Accepted loneliness ceases to be a heavy burden, transforming into a valuable tool, a kind of filter, sifting out everything superfluous and artificial. It grants a clarity of thought previously inaccessible and an unwavering confidence that genuine silence is preferable to empty and meaningless chatter. Recall those countless moments when you filled your life with meaningless noise, distractions, and people incapable of giving you anything of value, just to avoid encountering your own inner world. Remember the dead-end relationships and shallow conversations. What did you truly gain in the end? What lessons did you learn? What changed for the better? The truth is, it's impossible to escape loneliness, as it's tantamount to fleeing from yourself. Without learning to be in harmony with yourself, it's impossible to build truly deep and sincere relationships with others. Loneliness isn't a punishment, but a sacred space where you can restore inner balance without being distracted by the voices and expectations of others. It's an opportunity to honestly ask yourself, am I living the life I've always dreamed of, or merely the one that others approve of? Am I following my own principles and values, or have I become a convenient version of myself, pleasing to others? When you gain the ability to be alone with yourself, something magical happens. You stop desperately seeking the company of others, no longer fearing emptiness, and no longer accepting everything just to drown out the feeling of emptiness. You discover that your own company is quite sufficient. And at that moment, a miracle occurs. Genuine connections find you, and the right people enter your life not to fill an inner void, but to walk alongside you through life, hand in hand. Embrace your loneliness as a chance to know your true self, not as a sentence to failure. Stop seeking salvation from inner emptiness in casual relationships. In the silence of solitude, a true understanding of your own personality is born, and then you won't need the approval of others. Perhaps you're used to thinking that kindness is synonymous with vulnerability, that nobility is manifested in compliance, and that love requires self-sacrifice. But remember how many times you've sacrificed yourself for others, and the world continued to live by its own rules, not noticing your efforts. How many times have you been silent when you needed to speak, yielded when you should have resisted, given when you should have defended your interests? Remember, kindness devoid of strength is not a virtue, but a weakness. And conversely, strength without kindness turns into a destructive force. Imagine yourself as a river. Your waters flow gently, giving life to everything around. You generously share your wealth, asking nothing in return. But what happens if someone tries to change the course of your river, pollute its waters, or deplete its source? If you don't have enough strength to protect yourself, you'll turn into a stagnant pond, devoid of life-giving power. Uncontrolled kindness leads to depletion and loss of self. A river that knows how to be both gentle and firm not only survives, but continues to move forward, nourishing, carrying, and healing. True kindness isn't fragility, but harnessed strength. It's the ability to control your reactions and consciously choose when to express them. It's understanding that sometimes, to protect your essence, you need to stop being harmless. It's not about becoming cruel or insensitive, but about unlocking the strength dormant within you. Kindness without strength is like a flower in a field, beautiful but defenseless against anyone who wants to pick it. And strength without kindness is an uncontrolled fire, sweeping away everything in its path. Remember those moments when your tongue seemed glued to your throat, when your voice should have been heard, when you retreated, though resistance might have changed the course of events, when generosity crossed the line and erased your sense of self. What makes us so desperately seek universal approval, avoid confrontation, and push our own needs to the back burner? Perhaps you naively believed that being good was enough, and the world would become better, that unconditional love would return like a boomerang. But reality is harsh. Life is not a mirror reflecting your investments. It's more like a battle arena where good intentions alone are not enough to win. Accept the harsh truth. Don't harbor illusions of universal justice, hope for problems to solve themselves, or fear your own shadow. It is in those dark corners you've avoided looking into that the source of your inner strength is hidden. Strength not for destruction or revenge, but for restoring balance, so that your kindness does not become a signal for exploitation, so that your light comes from a person who cannot be broken. Stop being afraid of your strength. Stop believing that kindness is synonymous with weakness. True kindness is not compliance, but a manifestation of power. By learning to combine gentleness with firmness, you will become someone who not only gives, but also protects, who not only loves, but also respects themselves, who not only shines, but also lights the way for others. Self-sacrifice loses its value when it turns into complicity in your own destruction. How often have you confused the concepts of giving and renouncing? How often have you justified inner emptiness with phrases like, "It has to be this way," or "That's just who I am"? But the truth is that senseless self-sacrifice does not bring you closer to love, but distances you from yourself. It's not about stopping helping others, but about realizing that a drowning person cannot save another. Imagine yourself as a beautiful garden, where each plant symbolizes a part of your essence, energy, time, creative potential, and love. Some flowers in this garden are created to share their beauty with others to inspire admiration, and still others require special care and are available only to a select few. But what will happen if you thoughtlessly allow everyone to invade your garden, plucking flowers, trampling delicate buds, and poisoning the fertile soil? The garden will begin to wither, and with it will disappear all the beauty you could have given to the world. This is how limitless self-sacrifice works. It destroys the very valuable thing you are trying to protect. Remember the moments when you said, "Everything's fine," even though your soul was far from calm, when you silently endured insults, forced a smile when humiliated, or found excuses for hurtful words, convincing yourself that the offender didn't mean anything bad. Every time you suppress your pain just to maintain the illusion of harmony, you unwittingly let the world know how you can be treated. And the signal is clear. You don't have to consider me because I don't value myself enough. But here's what's important to realize. Breaking this vicious cycle of self-sacrifice is not a manifestation of egoism or rebellion, but an act of self-determination and self-respect. It means recognizing that your energy is not a bottomless well, but a precious resource that requires careful attention and wise distribution. It's not about stopping sharing with others, but about consciously choosing when, how much, and to whom you give a part of yourself. After all, true generosity is born not from exhaustion, but from inner abundance. So where do you start on this path to yourself? First of all, it is necessary to recognize the invisible costs of constant self-sacrifice. Every time you do something you don't really want to do, you lose a part of your uniqueness, your identity. Ask yourself the question, am I really giving out of love and compassion, or am I driven by fear? Fear of rejection, of loneliness, of possible conflicts. These are not the noblest motives for self-sacrifice. Learn to distinguish true generosity from self-denial. When you share from an excess of inner strength and harmony, you only become stronger. But when you give from inner emptiness and a sense of duty, you inevitably lose a part of yourself. The next time circumstances arise that require more from you than you are willing to give, remember firmly, refusal is not a manifestation of stinginess, but evidence of your honesty. Being able to put your own interests first is not egocentrism, but the cornerstone of genuine self-love. Only by abandoning the role of a supplicant, content with meager handouts of recognition, will you realize that the deepest respect grows from self-respect. Perhaps you came into this world believing that kindness is a weakness, that boundless generosity is the only true path, and that the world will surely reward your self-sacrifice with justice. But now the truth dawns on you. Kindness is not a path to paradise, but a manifestation of strength. It is not a sentence to defenselessness, but a conscious choice. And let this manifesto be your declaration of independence. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse whose light needs no permission to shine. It does not apologize for pointing the way and does not go out under the onslaught of waves. You shine without sacrificing your essence to the sea element, without allowing storms to determine the intensity of your light. Such is the power of true kindness. It illuminates everything around without burning itself out. It gives without losing itself. It exists without needing justification. After all, a lighthouse does not stand to serve ships, but because it is its nature to radiate light. And it is in this natural glow that its purpose lies. This is not the finale, but only the beginning of a new stage. A moment when you stop seeking approval from those who cannot appreciate your value, when you give up the futile hope that the world must change in order for you to flourish. Believe me, you will flourish anyway. Your brightness does not depend on the perception of others, but only on your ability to ignite it anew every day. From now on, you draw not from emptiness, but from an inexhaustible source of inner strength and inspiration. You cast off the shackles of fear and speak the truth, driven by a deep sense of respect for yourself and others. You no longer confuse true kindness with unquestioning obedience, or strength of spirit with displays of cruelty. Every day you reaffirm your right to preserve your inner fire, protecting its heat before sharing warmth with others. The rules of the game have changed forever. You are not a sacrificial candle, burning to the ground to illuminate someone else's path, not a river, drying up in an effort to water someone else's land. You are a lighthouse, towering over the raging sea, a mountain, steadfastly standing guard, a quiet storm capable of changing the landscape. You decide when to give, when to keep, when to shine, and when to close the gates of your soul. And if someone dares to accuse you of selfishness for choosing yourself, remind them, self-love is not a crime, but an act of genuine revolution. True betrayal is not a firm no, but a life lived to please other people's expectations, a life that does not belong to you. The world desperately needs your kindness, but not the kind that makes you keep silent. It needs kindness with strong roots, which confidently declares, this far and no further. Kindness that shines brightly without asking permission. After all, the most radical form of kindness is not forgiveness, but the ability to change the world around you. Raise this manifesto as a banner of freedom. Write your own rules and move forward not with the fear of losing yourself, but with the unwavering confidence that you have finally found your true self. If these words resonated in your heart, if at least a spark of hope lit up in your soul, if you remembered your boundless strength, do not keep it to yourself. Let the world know that kindness and strength must go hand in hand. Share this manifesto with those who must stop shining half-heartedly. Remember, together we are an indestructible force.